lot has happened.
Oh, boy.
So we took a week off.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for that. And thank you for understanding. I feel like we should say we are going to be taking Thanksgiving off. Mm-hmm. Just, we're not going anywhere. We're staying at home like good, responsible people, as you all should be too, unless you are in one of the blessed countries that has gotten this whole thing under control. In which case, is your home open and can I move in with you?
I have a guest bedroom. You can come live with me. Come live at the end of the hall.
Way. Yeah, so we went to record last night, and Teese, what happened on your end?
It was really windy, and I think maybe a wire got loose, maybe something snapped, but I really can't tell because it was from the street over, but a whole bunch of traffic was going down my street, and I live on a side street, so I think something may have gotten loose or snapped or fell or something like that, but the light started to flicker, and then the lights went out, and the last time that happened was 2012 with Hurricane Sandy. So I was like, oh no. And, then it started to rain really, really, really hard. And then it was gone. And then everything was fine. But by the time it was fine, it was like 10 p.m. So my power went out. What happened to you?
My power also went out.
Yay!
Like 10 minutes into your power going out. And my power never goes out. But my power went out. And our generator did not kick on. And we were like, well, time to light all of the 300 candles in our house and sit quietly.
Yeah, I played a lot of Bipio games on my Nintendo binge while...
My binge wasn't charged.
Oh, no!
I just sat on the floor.
Oh, no!
It was good. It was a nice, quiet time of meditation and talking. It's good.
I can't meditate. I get really angry.
You can't
I can't meditate.
But that's part of why you practice meditation, so that you can let that anger come and then go away again.
I literally can't do yoga. It gets me too mad. I can't listen to... Oh, I don't know if you knew this, but I can't listen to stuff that's designed to calm you down. I can't listen to ASMR. And there was a album that Poppy came out with that was designed to help you fall asleep. It gave me heart palpitations.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not an uncommon experience.
Apparently
though.
It's because I have stress, unresolved stress.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So since we last recorded, which was with the delightful Leo,
Yes.
check out that last episode.
Yes. So this past week, I watched both Okja and Reanimator for the first time. And
I am familiar with Okja. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with Reanimator.
Reanimator is a 1980s cult classic horror film.
Okay.
And it's kind of in the same vein that Evil Dead is, or Scream to some degree. Kind of like that wacky homoerotic antics of it all. And two med students discover that they can bring the dead back to life, but obviously there's repercussions. It's based off of an H.P. Lovecraft short story, apparently. But I'm gonna assume that they're not all that similar, only just in the words of Addison Kane, the beats. So... that, and then I also listened to all of We Crashed, which is a 6-part series on how WeWork as a company absolutely just beefed it. And I also listened to all of Murder Ballads, which is a new Spotify hosted podcast about music and murders and crimes that inspire these songs. And granted, it's clearly Spotify being hey, look at this, you can play songs in your podcast episode and the musician will still get the plays. So
that's cool,
which is nice. But Spotify also pay your artists better. But also it's kind of really repetitive because it's kind of a very similar plot over and over again, but it is only 5 episodes long so far. So I think the podcasters just getting their mojo type deal. And then I also started to listen to You're Wrong About, which is another podcast. What about... Oh, and also I've started to play Oberdin. And damn, I sure don't have enough brain cells for that game. What about you?
But are you enjoying the game?
I really am. It's really fun. And
that's all that matters, then.
Yeah, and I really like the subject matter because my senior year of college, I spent a lot of time focusing on transcription of naval periodicals. So it reminds me a little bit of college, which is fun.
Aww.
What about you?
My stuff has been pretty singular in the time between.
Okay.
My dear friend Monica, I don't know if she listens to this, but she has been playing Dragon Age Inquisition again, and she has been streaming that for me. So I am back in Dragon Age Hell and really enjoying it, and it feels a bit like coming home in an odd sort of way, where so...
That's how I feel when I play BioShock, so I feel that every time I play BioShock. Unfortunately,
walking back down to Rapture.
I feel like everybody picks the one AAA franchise that they would die for, and unfortunately for me, I happen to be on a boat with a bunch of white boys, and I love BioShock.
The ludonarrative dissonance of it all.
Ayn Rand, if you're out there, baby.
But yeah, so Dragon Age and The Witcher are kind of like my go-to sort of comfort properties, I would say, but I don't really explore a lot of like The Witcher's fandom space as much as I do Dragon Age. And Dragon Age has some really incredible fandom spaces. It also, BioWare fandoms in general are a little bit tricky to navigate sometimes, but I've been rereading some Dragon Age fic that I read a few years ago, and it's held up really well, which is really amazing. And
it's always such a treat.
If we ever do a Dragon Age episode, by which I mean episodes, because there will have to be many.
Okay. I know nothing about Dragon Age. I've never played any of them.
We would like to change that.
I played maybe like 30 minutes of Mass Effect, and then I accidentally drove the Mako into a crater, and then I said, fuck it.
That's a pretty universal experience.
Yeah, and I just never went back. So, a lot of people, but I think you would like Dragon Age. And I was like, but listen, I don't like high fantasy. So, I never picked it up. We never introduced the podcast.
No, we didn't. So, hi. Welcome to Author's Note.
Don't listen.
We're a podcast where we talk about fandom and internet history and internet happenings. Not just internet happenings, but anything related to fandom.
Fan space experiences, dare I say.
Yeah.
What are we talking about, Cass?
If you know me, if you have spent time with me in any capacity, I probably at some point have said to you, you know about that Skyrim Romance Mod? And then proceeded to pull up what is it? It's like a 5 or 10 minute video of the titular Skyrim Romance Mod. And it is perhaps one of my favorite videos. And I watch it whenever I'm a little bit down and just need a good laugh. And I said to myself, I want to know what the deal was with this thing. Because there's got to be something. And boy,
Can I make a confession?
Something. Yeah.
I didn't know that Skyrim was the name of the country. I was like, I was watching the videos of said romance mod on YouTube featuring Mickey's Dick Smasher, the lore-friendly Khajit, which is the name of that Khajit, and I really know nothing about Skyrim. So when they were like, in all of Skyrim, I was like, what the fuck? The town is called Skyrim? And a friend of the show, Leo, is a very big Elder Scrolls fan in general, and was like, the whole country is named Skyrim. It's like,
so,
shit.
Let's do a little bit of a background, a little bit of a primer for anyone who may not be familiar with this video game or video games in general. There's gonna be some video game talk this episode, so I want to make sure everybody can find this episode accessible. So
that would be very nice.
The Elder Scrolls is a very popular RPG series. It is developed and published by Bethesda Softworks, and Skyrim is the 5th entry in the Elder Scrolls Chronicle. If you know someone who is a fan of high fantasy and video games, they have probably heard of the Elder Scrolls, whether that be the 4th game, Oblivion, the 3rd game, Morrowind. I started playing these games with Morrowind when I was much younger, but I'm very familiar with Skyrim and have probably put in several hundred hours on it. It's a game that I enjoyed very much when it released and for years after. It is a game that has also kind of been notoriously re-released and
Todd Howard.
put onto
Todd Howard.
every single console, to the point where I'm pretty sure at some point Skyrim is going to become like the video game Doom, where it's just a challenge to see what we can get it to run on.
Oh, that'd
because
be
I know people have
wonderful.
gotten Doom to run on the touch bar on MacBook Pros.
Doom has technically run on a pregnancy test.
Of course it has.
We should do
Of
an
course it
episode
has.
on Doom and the process of making it run on things, because I really don't know how you
absolutely
get that.
If you're
to
a
work.
programmer or a developer who has ever done that kind of thing, please reach out to us because we would love to talk to you.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was released on November 11th, 2011. It was the game that sort of brought open world gaming into vogue and into huge popularity, because it showed very quickly that it was like, okay, this is accessible now. And it is also the E3 press conference from which we got that iconic moment with Todd Howard where he went, "Do you see that mountain? You can climb it," which was like huge. There's like a mountain in the distance in a video game and you can get to it. First of all, it's not just like painted in the skybox, but you can also climb it and interact with it, which was like really cool. Skyrim currently holds a 94 on Metacritic and an 8.3 user score, which, you know, it holds up. Like, it's a pretty fun game. I know friends who are still playing it, who are still enjoying it, and because it is an open world role-playing game, there is so much to do. There's so many quests. There's all these different storylines. And anytime you play Skyrim, your experience with it can be totally different because you make your own character from the beginning and you choose the paths and what you prioritize and what actions you take, which a lot of people find really engaging. And I mean, understandably so. It is a choose your own adventure in video game form. But to have a really cool and fleshed out world in a high fantasy setting, you probably need some NPCs. And Skyrim has droves of NPCs. If you're unfamiliar, NPC stands for non-player character, so it's every AI and other character that inhabits the world around your character and that you interact with. That could be animals, that could be other human beings. In Skyrim, there are multiple species, so there are like lizard people. I don't know why the lizard people ladies still have tits. That still doesn't compute with me, and that really frustrates me a lot. There's also kitty people.
Khajit.
And the Khajits, yes, the kitty people Khajits can either be like man with whiskers level, where it's just like really subtle, or they can just be full-on cats.
But that
which
also,
I think is incredible.
It is, but that also was only just recently confirmed, like, in the Elder Scrolls Online these past few years, right?
Yeah.
I just like that you could be a little kitty, but still talk. I want to be a little kitty.
One of the frequent jokes that comes up a lot with Elder Scrolls games in particular, especially the Oblivion game, and to a lesser extent Skyrim, is that you will hear the same dialogue lines over and over again, and you will hear them from the same, like, 5 voice actors, because these are very big games, and despite being AAA, you know, they're trying to save on production cost where they can, and sometimes that means hiring less actors. So Skyrim's interpersonal mechanics with its NPCs and its general writing were felt a little bit lacking. There was like a really shallow marriage mechanic, but given that Skyrim came out in 2011, if you compare it to games like Dragon Age 2 or even Fallout New Vegas, which was developed by Obsidian, and Fallout is an IP that is owned by Bethesda, comparably, the romances and character storylines of NPCs are a lot more shallow, and I don't want to say uninteresting, because they are engaging and like it's cool to find out about them, but there is not the depth and level of character that one would maybe want if you were going to, you know, pursue a video game romance and go for some really cool character development. And, you know, there might be some reasons for that I'll get into. But there was clearly a demand for more enriching and more engaging romance mechanics in an RPG that already offered them, but on like a very surface level, which meant that the modding community sort of exploded with these opportunities. And when you have video games, modding is... I have been trying to think of the most succinct and easiest way to describe this, and I described it to my mom, who doesn't
You're modifying
really play
the
video
game.
games. Yeah, you're modifying the game. But okay, but like for some people, they still don't know what that means, you know?
True.
So when you mod a game, you could be changing any element of it. You could be deciding that you want to change the textures, which is what applies like color and shadow and depth to models in the game. You could be changing those models for something else. Say, like, instead of horses in the game, you wanted to be able to ride elks. Well, okay, here's a mod that changes all of the horses in the game to elk, so now you're riding an elk. You could be exploring mods that add in totally new characters, mods that add in totally new storylines, settings, all sorts of stuff. Modding can change so many facets of a game on a micro or macro level, which is really cool. It's a totally different area of fan work than I think a lot of people are exposed to, but it is a really amazing way to sort of engage with the content that you are already enjoying. Modding is generally only available for PC games just because of the way dissemination of mods works, but Bethesda has worked to make mods a little bit more accessible for console gamers, for like Fallout 4 and stuff. One of my favorite mods is like changing the size of the moon in games. I just really like a big moon. It makes me feel safe.
I like that.
And I just like what it adds to the atmosphere.
The only Skyrim mod I really know about besides this one is the one that makes all of the dragons turn into Thomas the Tank Engine trains.
That's a very popular mod,
It's
yeah.
a good mod.
It's a really good mod.
And also the FoulSerpent's Hulk Hogan screams, maybe, I'm thinking of. But also, like, fuck
Macho
Hulk
Man
Hogan.
Randy Savage?
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I clearly went to college when Skyrim came out.
Friend of the show, Jala, and I would join another friend of ours while he streamed his heavily modded Skyrim game, and of course we made him put in all like the hypersexual mods because you know those exist. So we just wanted to see them and laugh at them and giggle at them like little children.
I remember when Final Fantasy 15 came out for PC. Oh, there were so many dick mods so fast.
Oh, there still are so many dick mods.
There always will be.
There will always be a dick mod.
Yeah.
I know Skyrim's is called like Schlongs of Skyrim, and the promotional graphics for it are hysterical, and they take like one of the sign stones from the game and they make it look like a penis, which it's not that far off to begin with. Okay. So there's the demand, right, for richer romances in the game, and Bethesda sees this and they're like, okay, we'll give you a DLC, and it's called Hearthfire, and they release it in September of 2012. Hearthfire is still a little slim pickings. It allows you to like buy a home and like pseudo decorate that home, where like if you're playing on a console like I am, there's not a lot of like moving things in Skyrim is not super user friendly. Like you can accidentally kill yourself by hitting yourself with like a bowl at like the wrong velocity. So
oh my god, it's like playing Sims on a console versus playing Sims on a PC.
Yeah, kind of.
Whole different ballgame.
Totally different, absolutely. And Hearthfire also allowed you to like station your romantic partner in the game, and like it's cool that Skyrim allowed for queer romances, but a lot of that actually has to do more with the fact of like there's no actual physical interaction between you, the player character, and the NPC. Like there's no kissing, and like the dialogue is so thin and surface level that like they don't really have to change too much except for pronouns, which like you wouldn't have to do in any other scenario, but it's not very in-depth, you know? It wasn't revolutionary. It was just like kind of the bare minimum.
Okay.
But like that's still cool, and Hearthfire allowed you to adopt children. But like if you're curious about how deep the romance mechanics of Skyrim are, it's literally like you take on a questline to get an amulet of Mara, and then after you do like an NPC's personal quest, which, like, could be anything. It could be, like, getting them a book or something. You can then give them the Amulet of Mara, and, like, you'll get married. And, like, that's basically it. And they'll call you dear sometimes. Oh. It's really not.
Wow.
Go play Dragon Age. Go play Dragon Age.
I guess me and my boss are married. He calls me dear sometimes. The first time it happened, I was like, stop.
And the funny thing about this was, like, the romanceable characters weren't necessarily even the ones that people were, like, the most interested in romancing. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a character in Skyrim named Brynjolf, who's a part of the Thieves Guild questline, and he has, like, a Scottish accent, and people were way more interested in him because he had more depth, he was better written, he was, like, actually written to be a fully fleshed out character instead of just, like, this weird, like, you can romance him, I guess, and, like, cursory glance at the writing team on Skyrim will tell you that there are no women. Oh. Which is, like, that kind of says it all.
Shocking.
Like, not to be that person, but it's a team full of men. I do
it all the time, yeah. I will watch a TV show, like, this was really well written, and then I'll see, like, writer's room full of women. I'm like, oh, shocking. Mm-hmm. And Mom's like, stop.
Women are just a lot more encouraged, and it's acceptable for women to explore these more empathetic, engaging, interhuman relationships. Mm-hmm. That just made it sound like I was an alien because I said interhuman instead of interpersonal relationships. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but I think a lot of men's adversity to writing romance, and when I talk about men, I'm talking about, like, cishet men, to writing romance and writing it well and, like, really kind of immersing themselves in it as they write it, right, comes from a toxic heteronormative masculinity. But I think also in fantasy writing in particular, after we saw the release of the Lord of the Rings movies and further back the Lord of the Rings books, there was, like, this really particular aversion to writing close platonic relationships between men that were open and understanding and empathetic and, like, really passionate, but not in a way that's, like, romantic or sexual, but just, like, platonically passionate because of the way Sam and Frodo were largely regarded as being, like, subtextually gay. And, like, this is just my own experience and, like, what I've observed. It's unsubstantiated. I haven't looked at any research on it, but it's kind of there. Like, there's a lot of aversion to writing this, and, like, you see it in the Hobbit prequels that came out then, where it's like they immediately cut scenes between Bilbo and Thorin purposefully short because they didn't want to wind up with the two gay bros kind of vibe that had happened with the Lord of the Rings movies, which, like, is a total loss, and it shows. And it's like, I see your cowardice, Peter Jackson.
I mean, even with whatchamacallit, like with Good Omens and stuff like that, I feel like that also happened too. And Neil Gaiman was like, no.
Supernatural?
Oh, that happened while we were gone.
That happened while we were gone.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a whole other. But this, like, this overwhelming permeation of no homo though has, like, really sort of stuck and gummed up a lot of fantasy narratives for the worse, I feel like. And a lot of them have come out on the other side and are doing much better. But there are some that are still, like, kind of sifting in that mire. And, like, when you have a writer's room full of dudes who are heterosexual, I don't know, let yourself be a little bit more romantic.
Yeah,
maybe hire people who, like, actively want to write romance because it is its own genre for a reason. And, like, it's also the best-selling genre. Like,
I mean, I got a little publishing secret for everybody here, but chances are, if you read a sex scene in an adult-written novel that's published by a high-paid publisher, like a popular publisher type deal, like a Penguin Random House boy, chances are that was ghostwritten by someone who's a professional smut writer and is hired by the publisher, because they know that these smut writers would write anything better than a regular author of the full book. Like, just accept it. Just hire somebody to write your romance plots. Why do you think Harlequin makes so much money?
Yeah.
Just do it. Let my gays marry. In the eternal words of that one Sherlock fan poster, let my gays marry. Tired of this.
And somebody did come into the Skyrim fan community and said, let people marry. Not the gays just yet. But we did see the entrance of a lot of romance mods in Skyrim, and the one in particular that we're going to be talking about, and the one that caused quite a kerfuffle, is the titular Skyrim Romance Mod. It is just called Skyrim Romance Mod, or SRM, and it was created by Mara Lightfeather, likely in late 2014. I couldn't get an exact date on this, but I do have some exact dates on the Kickstarter and all of the fallout that ensued. So, Mara Lightfeather joined the Skyrim Nexus mods, and the Nexus mods are a forum in which people can share their mods. They can, crowdsource, work with other modders. It's a forum. It's a forum community for people who make mods, specifically for people making Skyrim mods. Mara's name at the time on the Nexus mods was Winged Twilight of the Dawn. I'm going to say that again. Yeah. So, Mara's Skyrim Nexus Mods forum username was Winged Twilight of the Dawn. She featured a PayPal link on the mod page to help fund her mod, and then she began a Kickstarter on January 20th, 2015. The Kickstarter brief reads, "The reason why we are doing a Kickstarter is because we wish to expand on Skyrim Romance and take it to a whole new level. 100 plus more characters, amazing voice actors, brand new in-depth romance characters, new locations, and exciting new quests. This mod is free for download for anyone who wants to play. Also, I want to make a romance version for male players as well. This funding is going towards paying professional voice actors, writers, audio editors, and animators. This project is for fun and made for all to enjoy for free when it is released." Minimum pledge tier for this Kickstarter was $25.
That's so much. That's
a
lot.
And you got to have your name credited on the Skyrim Romance website as a donator for that amount. At $50, you'd receive a personal thank you email from Mara. At $100, your name would be credited on the mod release as a funder. At $200, you would get a personal email thank you from a voice actor of your choosing, which, it's an email, so why does it matter who it's from? Maybe that's just me, but...
No, I feel the same way. I feel like these are such really bad reward tiers.
Yeah. At $300, you get a personal audio from a voice actor of your choosing. Like, that one, I get, not for the price, but that one, I'm like, okay, yeah, like, if you really like one of the voice actors on this project, like, a personal recorded thank you means a lot more than a random email from them.
Are any of them famous?
No.
So then, who the fuck cares? Unless you can say, like, damn, you ass fat, what's your pronouns? Like, the JFK voice actor did. Like, why would I want that?
At $500, you would get a commissioned digital painting of your choice and all previous rewards. It's not listed
From
anywhere
who?
who the artist of that would be.
It's me. I can only draw stick figures.
At $800, the team would create your very own NPC, fully voiced and romanceable, with 200 to 400 lines of dialogue, as well as a commissioned digital painting. That's the only one where I'm like, yeah, that kind of matches up to the value, maybe.
Imagine, like, spending those $800, and then your NPC only gets 2 lines.
Well, it was 200. That's my note taking, but even still, that's like,
because I read it as 2, and it was like, I would be mortified.
The lines are quite literally, "Damn, you ass fat," and "What's your pronouns?" Those are your 2 lines. Teese, like, God. "I would like to be a Khajit. I would like to be a kitty, full kitty form." Those are my lines.
I would like to be in kitty mode. I would like to be wearing a funny little kitty hat. And I want my kitty to go, "Rawr, damn, you ass fat." I want to voice it.
Can I get those lines from you right now, Teese? Take a moment, take a breath. Give me those line reads.
Okay. Wow, damn, you ass fat. What's your pronouns?
I'm uncomfortable. So, the Kickstarter's campaign video, which is the weirdest part of this to me.
It's so weird.
Everything that happens with this mod, this is the weirdest part to me. They get a campaign video made as a mod review by a YouTuber named MMOX Review. His tone, I mean, it's like, it's very much like, hey, what's up, YouTube? Today we're coming back to the video, and today we're talking about titty mods in Skyrim. Except, as Teese described to me, the way he says titties is the way Moira Rose says bebe in Schitt's Creek.
He says tete.
So he just says tetes. It's so obnoxious. Like, and he comes at the entire mod from like a very condescending, joking perspective, which I don't understand, because you're trying to sell people on this mod so that they back it and support it. But this dude spends the entire time just making like really gross and inappropriate jokes. It's also weird that they would have a man review it when this mod is specifically targeted at women playing the game who are interested in romancing male characters.
Yeah, it's like how Jennifer's Body was mismarketed towards teenage boys when it was really supposed to be geared towards teenage girls. And with this mod, it's basically the same thing. This guy is trying to appeal to men, and he keeps talking about, like, he will offhandedly mention women in this video, but then will make sure to comment that these women are ugly as well. Yeah. So not only are you
he calls them whores, he makes no homo jokes, and he's like very clearly playing to his very largely immature audience, which he acknowledges is like 95% men. Yeah. Which, like, there's nothing wrong, of course, if you're a man who wants to play a romance mod, like, fucking go for it. But it's just the tone and way in which this was advertised, as if it was very derisive, you know?
Yeah.
Notably, this Kickstarter is made and geared towards women who are playing the game, though it could be played by anyone who's choosing to play as a male player character. You just have to accept that you're going to be misgendered, which might be frustrating, might be dysphoric for some people. The romanceable options are all male, and all of the female NPCs that are included in the mod are written and placed as rivals to the player. The initial Kickstarter mentions that there will be a version for straight dude players, but it's not a priority given that Mara believes there are many mods already existing and catering towards them, which is fair. There were a lot of mods that, you know, kind of fleshed out certain existing characters like Lydia, or made accessible other characters, or, as this wonderful Kickstarter reviewer pointed out, there's titty and ass mods galore, just all over the place. The Skyrim Romance Mod pulls from existing mods for textures, hair, clothing, skin, with the eventual permission of the creators of those mods. When this mod was first published to the Nexus, Mara neglected to credit any of the other mods which were included within her own mod, and Skyrim Romance got taken down and had to be put back up because of that, because you have to credit artists on the work that they do. But as we come to find out, that is a persistent issue. Kickstarter went up on January 20th, 2015, and was canceled the very next day. It got like $51 of funding. Mara allegedly discovered that it was against Bethesda and the Nexus's terms of service, as well as the mod creation kits and user license agreement to try and monetize mods, which is unsurprising to literally no one who knows anything about fan content.
It's common. It should be common sense at this point.
It should be.
Yeah.
I think it's not for a lot of. So, hi, as a person who sells fan merch, I also fully acknowledge that what I'm doing is illegal. I am profiting off the IP and copyrights of other people that I do not have access to. When you are dealing with very large companies, like, say, Disney or,
Sanrio's another one.
Well, Sanrio's incredibly litigious, so I wouldn't say Sanrio.
So is Disney, though.
Yeah, but not as much with fan artists. The thing is largely when you're dealing with really large corporations, as long as you're not trying to pass your fan merchandise off as official merchandise, they'll leave you alone, because they understand that it hurts their bottom line more to pursue legal action and to try and remove you from the community and spread bad will like that. And you creating fan merchandise as an artist also helps to bring people into something. Bethesda, however, when it came to making money off of mods, is very different. because somebody has to have purchased the game and you are actively modifying the property and like the source material essentially for your mod to work. So when you download the creation kit, which you need in order to make mods for Skyrim, the very, very first term of the end user license agreement that pops up on the screen is 1. Restriction on use. The editor is and shall remain the copyrighted property of Bethesda Softworks and or its designees, and you shall take no action inconsistent with such title or ownership. You may not cause or permit the sale or other commercial distribution or commercial exploitation of any new materials without the express prior written consent of an authorized representative of Bethesda Softworks. I.e., you can't make money off of this. And I understand. I get and know that most of us do not read licenses. We don't read terms of agreements. We don't really touch that stuff. We just scroll past it and hit accept. But it was literally right there. And when you're going to begin any measure of funding or business transaction, it is your legal imperative as a person seeking to make money to make sure you have the clearance for that. Anytime I want to make fan merchandise for an indie property, like Hades game, for example, if I wanted to make a print for Hades, because it's an indie developer, I go out of my way to make sure first that they have a statement regarding fan merchandise and what their stance is on it. It's common courtesy. You know, like, I'm not going to go and make fan merch for, you know, Among Us because they've actively asked that people stop because they're a small indie studio and need the funding. Bethesda's not quite the same. But by joining the forum and by creating a mod and by using the creation kit that Bethesda themselves made and distributed, you are agreeing that you're not going to try and use their website and their forum to make a profit off of, in turn, their work. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily agree with it wholeheartedly, but I understand it and think that, you know, you have to be respectful. This agreement also technically puts Nexus in danger for Mara attempting to host, funnel, or request sales of her mod. So she was immediately banned. Understandably, she violated the rules of the Nexus, she violated the creator standards, except then she decided she was going to try and talk to the mods, she was going to try and talk to the moderators, I should say, to make it a little bit more clear. She wanted to, quote-unquote, explain herself, so she made a second account, which is also against terms of service for pretty much, like, any service anywhere. If you do what's called ban evade by making a second account to get around your first ban, most of the time you're auto-banned again. And she was. She was banned again, and because she tried to ban evade, she then lost all chance to appeal or get her account restored because of that, because she tried to circumvent the rules, which it's unfair. You know, the rules are in place for a reason in communities like this, and she tried to get around them. She claims she wasn't aware of this, and she claims she wasn't aware of the license agreement, but again, she decided she wanted to try and make money off of this, but didn't bother to check, like, the basic essentials. The other issue with it, too, was that Mara didn't tell anyone on her team of artists, texturers, modelers, voice actors, that she was going to do this Kickstarter. None of them knew about it. She didn't tell any of them about it because she claims she didn't want them to get their hopes up. But in my opinion, that makes it look more like she was going to raise the money and try and run off with it, or that she wasn't going to be fully transparent about where that money was going. And by not telling those people, she also put them at risk of being banned from the Nexus. And, like, these are people who, like, you know, they might have worked on Skyrim Romance, but they had their own projects which would have gotten, you know, terminated and destroyed. Which, holy shit, you can't just do that. She also would have had to have confirmed with the other mod creators who made, like, the hair, the skin, and texture packs that it was okay for her to profit from their work as well. She didn't, you know? She might have had their permission to put it in her mod, but she didn't talk to those people about profiting off of it. copyright, monetization, and infringement issues get talked about a lot in modding communities because there is a lot of concern for retaining the rights to assets that you've made, whether that be your writing or your models or images. And there was actually another prominent case in which a separate mod for Skyrim was using Kickstarter to raise funds for a 10-hour-long in-game campaign, and Bethesda got involved and the project was canceled. So this is something that has happened before and unfortunately will probably continue to happen. But the fact that, you know, she also didn't go to look up the history of, like, mods trying to do Kickstarters or, like, mods trying to raise money, etc. And, like, granted, this was all happening back in 2015 when Patreon wasn't really a thing yet. And Patreon is, like, a really sustainable source now. Patreon, Drip, Ko-fi, for modders to be able to make money without necessarily directly profiting off of their mods. It's kind of a nice way to get around that, where people are just, you know, offering them money because they want to see what they create and not necessarily paying for the mod.
And, like, the same reason why you can't list your PayPal or say that you're taking commissions up on AO3. It's because it's an open source thing, and it's an archive space usually where people can leave stuff, but you're not supposed to profit off of it because, once again, it's not your IP. It's the same idea. So you're not really supposed to be making money. It's basically a non-monetizable hobby. Like, that's literally what you have to look at it as. Unless, like, people do send you a tip for your hard work, wink, wink, via Ko-fi or Patreon or Drip or whatever.
If you like creators, if you like artists or particular fanfic writers, if they have their Twitter or their Tumblr or Instagram linked, go to that, ask them if they have a coffee, and you can give them some money that way. If you send somebody even just $1 for a fan fiction you read that you really like, that's incredible. That's wonderful. That will mean so much to that person.
That'd be so delicious. I would love that.
There was a lot of community bitterness that sort of got involved and entangled with this whole debacle, because Mara was characterized as being really arrogant and greedy and elitist. And they took it, a lot of people took it as Mara saying that, you know, her mod is worth the money, but a lot of the other mods on the Nexus weren't, which I genuinely don't think that's what she was saying. I do think that for her, part of it was, you know, a genuine want to be able to pay the people who she was having do so much work for her. But it does kind of send this message that, like, you know, for people who might be a little bit more insecure or not as confident in their own work, that somebody else thinks their work is better. In a correspondence she had with Nexus user TerrorFox1234, Mara is quoted as saying, "I have a team of extremely talented people, writers, voice actors, audio, coders. They deserve to be paid for their time. This funding is going towards paying my extremely hardworking, talented team, which spent a year of their time to create Skyrim Romance as it is now." Which, okay. But, let's talk about the plagiarism.
Okay.
Because, a significant portion of Skyrim Romance is fully plagiarized. At the very end of the Kickstarter page, there's a fun little additional notes section, and it says, "Additional notes. Some character names were inspired from a few video games I've played over the years, but they are not associated with the characters from those games themselves. Each character is fully voiced and written character by my team." Bullshit. There's no mention on the Kickstarter page about Neverwinter Nights 2. And Neverwinter Nights 2 is a 2006 RPG that was developed by Obsidian, who notably was the developer of Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout is a Bethesda Softworks IP, baby, so there's a fun little tangle in there. And one of the lead romantic interests in Neverwinter Nights 2 is a character named Bishop. Bishop's character description from Neverwinter Nights 2 is, "With his perpetual shadow of facial hair and rugged physique, Bishop is rather handsome even if his demeanor is thoroughly unwelcoming. Late into his 20s, this veteran of the wilderness has scars and burns across his skin. Constantly on the lookout, sniffing the air and checking what's behind him, Bishop's hands are always on his weapons. Every time you look over to Bishop, he's looking right back at you." And for a period of time, that exact same description was the one used on the Skyrim Romance website. It has since been changed, but for a period of time, that exact description was taken, lifted, and put on the Skyrim Romance website, which is it's an outright acknowledgement of the fact that you've stolen this character. You took his name, you took elements of his characterization, you took his appearance, and you just put it into Skyrim Romance. Bishop in the Skyrim Romance mod has a faithful wolf companion named Karnweir, just as in Neverwinter Nights 2, which, pretty distinct name. Neverwinter Nights 2 also has a romance option named Cassivir, who, again, has been picked up and transplanted and put into Skyrim Romance. I do not, on a surface level, have a problem with this, of you taking a character from one game and modding them into another. But I have a problem with it when you're not going to acknowledge that that's what you're doing. If you're going to say that, like, this is your original character and you wrote him, you just happened to take his name from somewhere, and he maybe shares some similarity. No, that's not what you're doing. You're creating a crossover mod. Acknowledge it.
I was going to say, I feel like you should at least show that it's a crossover mod, because, like, you're using these characters in a way that you can associate them with the series. I mean, it's not just one character, you're using multiple. I mean, 4, 5, 6, how many, you know? And to the point where that is, in fact, a crossover. It's an AU, God forbid. Like,
yeah.
You gotta
it would be like writing
it.
super Hulock fanfiction and being like, Dean Winchester isn't actually Dean Winchester from Supernatural. He's my own original character, and he
named
just happens
Dean Winchester.
Yeah, like, it's... If you're going to plagiarize, acknowledge that you're plagiarizing.
Do it right!
But then it gets worse, because she wasn't just taking from Neverwinter Nights 2 the game. That game also had a modding community and had a romance pack, which, quote, adds romance and flirts to your Neverwinter Nights 2. It offers flirts for Bishop, Cassivir, Eleni, Nishka, Gan, and Sophia. Full romantic tracks for Bishop and Cassivir. This mod was made by a Gibberlings3 community team. And Mara allegedly took direct writing from that romance pack and just used it over again for her Skyrim Romance mod. Which, like, okay, so not only are you going to steal characters from another property and not acknowledge that, but then you're going to steal the fan work of other people for that property and not credit them.
Can I get something straight?
Yeah.
Nobody who worked on this romance pact for Neverwinter Nights 2 was on the Skyrim Romance mod team, correct?
Correct.
Boom!
There's no crossover.
Nothing.
When you look at the credits of the Neverwinter Nights 2 Romance Pack mod and compare them to the Skyrim Romance mod, there's no overlap. There's no credit. There's no acknowledgement. No thanks, even. There's no mention of it.
This is what we say in the biz. Shrimp arresting.
We're going to get into Mara's apology at one point, but she admits herself that she took lines from this mod, though she claims she later removed them after the Kickstarter debacle, which is kind of unconfirmed. It's not... I haven't seen anybody go in and make direct comparisons. Neverwinter Nights 2 is like a pretty old game at this point, so I'm sure there's somebody with a machine that can run it, but I don't know that there's anyone who's actively going to be interested enough to run Neverwinter Nights 2, get the romance pack, and actively compare it to Skyrim Romance. If you do, please report back.
There's also... I didn't really do a lot of research for this episode. This was more of a cast research episode. However, I did read a call-out post via somebody who worked on the art team of this project.
Mm-hmm.
And
we gonna get to that.
I was gonna say, like... The team knew what was going on, and they kept trying to tell Mara, and she just fucking refused.
Mara was allegedly very, very difficult to communicate with and did not inform anyone on the art team more than she felt needed to be shared. So it was apparently like pulling teeth trying to get any answers from her. I'm going to put that off because we're going to get into that because that's actually far more recent. So this is all still happening in 2015. But whole conversations and lines of dialogue are taken from Neverwinter Nights 2 and used in the Skyrim Romance mod without credit or acknowledgement. That's plagiarism. Like there's no getting around that. It's plagiarism. Anytime, because I've been reading a lot of Dragon Age fic, I apologize, it's going to come up. But anytime I read Dragon Age fanfiction, there's almost like always a moment in like the author's notes, either at the beginning of the fic or at the end of the fic, where they're like, oh yeah, I used existing dialogue from the game and built the scene around that. I'm like, cool, they acknowledge it. Or like you're familiar enough with the game to know that, you know? It would be one thing if like Morrow is modding Neverwinter Nights 2 and using existing dialogue of Neverwinter Nights 2 in a mod for that game, but because she's taking it and transplanting it to a totally different property, there's an element of that feels incredibly skeevy to me, and like you're actively trying to get away with taking credit for writing that isn't your own. Because I don't know how big the overlap is of Neverwinter Nights 2 players and Elder Scrolls players. I mean, I mentioned the names Bishop, Cassivir, and Nishka prior. They are all prominent characters in the Skyrim Romance mod, and individuals who have reached out to the mod team and asked about the characters being taken or lifted from Neverwinter Nights 2 have been immediately banned from the Skyrim Romance forums. Because Skyrim Romance had to make its own website and its own forum system because they got kicked off of Nexus. If you go to the Skyrim Romance website today, the Skyrim Romance mod has listed characters inspired by Neverwinter Nights 2. It is listed on the welcome page of the mod, and also on the welcome page for the Cassivir Romance mod. It is notably in quite small text, though. So, on January 27th, 1 week after the Kickstarter launch and its subsequent cancellation, Mara posts an apology. Teese, would you like to read Mara's apology in full for us?
Love to.
Hello, everyone. Recently there has been a lot of problems involving this mod. I would like to explain to everyone what really happened so that people stop making their own theories. The honest truth is that about a year ago, I decided to play Neverwinter Nights 2, and I downloaded the Romance mod. After I finished playing, I was extremely inspired by it, and I decided to make a mod for a game that I absolutely love. Skyrim! My initial idea was to make a romance mod for Skyrim based solely in Bishop from Neverwinter Nights 2. I began by learning how to mod, and I started to solicit voice actors. I received many responses and auditions. Eventually I found Jonah Scott. He was exactly what I was looking for, and so the whole project began. As time went by, people started to contact me about getting involved with my project, and before I knew it, I had around 30 people working on my Skyrim Romance mod. Voice actors, writers, and audio editors. What had started as a small mod with only one character, Bishop, turned into an elaborate mod with around 100 new characters. This mod took me 10 months to complete. I uploaded the mod to Nexus on December 25th, 2014, but because I did not ask for permission to use some of the textures on my mod, it got taken off. Several days later, I got permission to use the textures from other modders. I re-uploaded the mod, and it became very popular very fast. It got so popular that I got inspired to make another mod, but this time something double or triple the size. I was amazed of the fact that my mod exceeded my expectation in regards to how many people liked it. It got so ambitious about making the next mod that I realized that I was going to need a bigger team, anywhere from 50 to 80 people. Even though the people that had worked on my mod never asked for money, I figured that because this project was going to take such a long time and it was going to be so large, some people might have bailed out in the middle of the project. I was mostly concerned about the voice actors. It was going to be extremely time-consuming because of all the lines they needed to record. I figured that if I could give them an incentive, I could get them to commit to the large project. And so I decided to kickstart campaign for $50,000. None of my team one member, not many members, knew about this. I decided to keep it a secret so that they would not expect anything in case it did not get founded, nor did I want to get their hopes up. While I began the Kickstarter campaign, my team was already working on an update to the mod. I want to let everyone know that I was not being greedy when I decided to start the Kickstarter campaign, nor was I aware that it was illegal. I jumped on this mod, and I honestly never read none of the terms and conditions of Bethesda Creation Kit, Nexus mod, or Kickstarter. I was not aware that I could not add a PayPal link to Nexus and ask for donations. I figured that was because they offered a PayPal donate button on the mods page, it would not be an issue. I actually tried to use Nexus's PayPal donate button, but I was unable to figure it out. The day after my Kickstarter got up and running, I started to receive hate messages on Nexus about it being illegal and that it was against Nexus rules. When I read the messages, I was at work. After quickly searching online, I realized that I was in fact doing something that was not allowed. I decided to cancel my Kickstarter when I got home later that day. By the time I got home, which was around 6 p.m. Pacific time, I went to Kickstarter and canceled the funding to my project. I then tried to log into Nexus, but I found that my mod had been banned. The reasons for it were the following: PayPal link on the description of my mods on Nexus, Kickstarter, deleted comments that warned me about Kickstarter. To everyone that thinks I did this knowing about the rules, I would like to say that I absolutely did not. I had my doubts about using Neverwinter Nights 2 characters, but I figured since it was distributing the mod for free, that it would not be a problem. About the messages that I deleted from Nexus, the truth is that I had been deleting messages for a while. I deleted all the hateful messages I got, and I got a lot. Since this mod was up and running, there was so many people just bashing it that I decided to ignore those people and just allow comments from people that actually liked the mod. Edit! January 29th, 2015, I also had my doubt about using lines from Gibberlings3 Mod, because indeed I copied lines from this mod without asking for permission. Edit! February 6, 2015. I have removed all 4 flirts descriptions I had taken from Gibberlings3 Mod. I still want to credit this old mod because it inspired me to make Skyrim Romance Mod. After I got banned from Nexus, I messaged Vampire Dante, Nexus admin, who banned me, and I apologized and asked how I could fix my problem. He did not reply to me, so I went to the chat room to try to speak to him, but my account did not had permission to be on that chat room. He had blocked me. Since this mod is so important to me, I made a new account, not to deceive anyone, but just to chat with Vampire Dante. I even used my name, Lightfeather, so that he would know who I was. Instead of being able to chat with him, he immediately blocked my account and even my IP address. I understand that I made a very bad mistake, almost inexcusable, but Vampire Dante was also a total jerk. He did not even allow me to explain myself.
Okay, I need to stop making voices.
He he even went on my website and started to leave really hateful messages and even calling people that liked my mod psychopaths. I know it was him because he posted a comment on my website calling me dumb for trying to make a new account. Only he knew about this, since he had not made the public announcement on Nexus yet. I found this extremely disrespectful and unprofessional. Edit. February 29th, 2015. After following closely with a Reddit blog, I could be wrong about Vampire Dante, Nexus admin. I believed it was him because I got a message from someone that knew about my attempt to make a new account. This was like 5 to 10 minutes after I had to try to do so. I was not aware that Vampire Dante had made the announcement so quickly, because I am unsure that at this point of who actually wrote the messages that I was blaming Vampire Dante for doing. I will like to apologize to Vampire Dante and to Nexus for my assumption. One last thing that I want to clear up is my profile picture and my name. Yes, I used a fake picture and a fake name. Since my announcement of this mod, there was a lot of people that were very excited, but also people that were extremely hateful. I choose to use a fake picture and name, and after the mod was released, I was planning to reveal my true identity. The problem was that there was too many hateful people, even after I released my mod, so I just decided to stay anonymous. I did not want people finding my Facebook, where I live, my phone number, and where I work. I apologize to all the people that believe that I had some sort of deceitful agenda. All I wanted to do was create a mod like no other. I apologize for being naive and not fully reading the rules for Bethesda, Nexus, and Kickstarter. I now realize that I was very wrong for doing what I did. I want to apologize to the people that sent me warning and deleted their comments, but I do not want to let you guys know that I followed your advice, but by the time I did, it was too late. All happened in a span of 6 hours, she says in parentheses. I know now the rules for the use of the creation kit from Bethesda. I will start working on a new mod. As of now, my plan is to make a mod based off of Kale and a couple new characters. I will keep it 100% original. I learned my lesson and I will not make these mistakes again.
Jesus Christ, this girl talks so much.
There's some more.
There sure is.
Some of you know, but for the people that do not, I would like to inform you that several of the new writers and Jonah Scott, voice of Bishop, which were going to work on the update for the mod, left the team since they also found it deceitful that I did not inform them of the Kickstarter campaign and the characters that I used on the mod that were created based on Neverwinter Nights 2. The rest of my team that worked on the past Romance mod have stayed. Edit. 1/29/2015. There were also about 12 people that were going to work on the update to my mod. 3 people from this group had helped on the last mod. When my whole new team found about the mod being banned, they wanted to get an explanation, so I chatted with them through Skype. But all but one of these team members were questioning me on why I had done what I did, though it was very wrong. They kept pointing out that I had plagiarizing copyrighted work and that it was very wrong. I was very hurt by everything that had happened that day, and on top of that, I realized that even though I thought of all this people as friends, they started to slowly turn on me. I do not blame them for doing so. Their actions are completely warranted. Nonetheless, it hurt me a lot. After I had a sort of heated discussion with one of the team members that had worked on the last mod in a small part, that person decided to leave and the others followed. Again, there is nothing wrong with them doing so. Eventually, I was left with about 9 people that actually came to me to become a part of the next update. After chatting with them for a while, most of my new team members wanted me to agree not to do anything with the mod unless I consulted with them first. At this point, I realized that not even the people that had worked on the last mod expected me to do so. So, why did I have to share everything with them? Though this might sound a bit selfish.
I want you to know that there's a hyphen between self and fish. So I'm a self-fish.
The truth is this. Period. I planned the mod and worked very hard to make it a reality. I solicited voice actors, writers, I did YouTube interviews, I made the website. I worked very hard to make it appear on Google's first page, but I had a few new people that felt entitled to make decisions on my mod. It was a pleasure for them to become part of my team of writers and my next update, but only for writing. All the other decisions regarding the mod were mine to make. At this point, I decided not to continue working with the remainder of my new team of writers. There was 2 people, however, I wanted to keep working with me. One agreed and the other turned me down for a very good reason. I still have working with me 27 of the 30 team members that worked on my last mod, including several new people that had also asked to be a part of it. 2 of my old team members that are no longer working with me were amazing for helping. Jonah worked really hard and did an amazing job voicing Bishop. Sarah, who helped me correct a lot of the writing, also worked very hard. I thank you for that time and quality of work. I want everyone to know this is 100% true. Some people want to make their own theories that were my real intentions and just be hateful, but like any other human, I make mistakes. That is all it was. I made a huge mistake because I did not take the time to read all the terms and conditions for Bethesda, Nexus mods, and Kickstarter. I accept all responsibility and all the consequences that come with it. I hope that you can all understand what happened better. I'm working on this mod not for greed, but because I want to incorporate romance with Skyrim and share it with everyone. It is just a hobby for me and I really enjoy doing it. Though the new Skyrim Romance Mod will not be as big as I was hoping it to be, it will still be a lot of fun and full of romance for everyone that likes it. Thank you for your time, Mara.
So, 3 three key things to take away from that.
Yeah.
Mara admits to stealing content from Gibberlings3, the Neverwinter Nights 2 mod. She admits to her ban evasion in an attempt to explain herself, and she admits to using a fake name and author portrait for the mod, which, you didn't really have to use an author portrait to begin with, Mara. Mm-hmm. And I do understand that being based on a need to protect herself from a hateful community, and, like, for that, entirely valid. I understand that, especially because of the amount of harassment women already see in games, but also then particularly the amount of harassment women receive in games as it relates to, like, romance writing and mod creation related to that. There is just, like, there's a lot of people who are really, really angry about that kind of thing, and their spaces, quote unquote, their spaces being, like, injected with, like, femininity in whatever toxic way they want to identify that. Doesn't make it right, but I do understand her want to do that. Just don't use an author portrait next time. And she doesn't anymore. It's literally just an image of the Skyrim Romance emblem that she has made. I think, to me, that apology reads as really sort of selfish and self-serving. Mm-hmm. It does not, it doesn't really properly feel like an apology to me. It just feels like, I'm going to tell you what I did and what I was quote-unquote thinking, allegedly,
Yeah, I do know.
The choice to hide information of doing the Kickstarter from her team really frustrates me, because the reality is that any one of them could have been like, hey, did you check policies on Nexus and stopped this whole thing from happening?
Also, like, from an advertising standpoint, how are you not going to tell your team? Like,
exactly.
Having your team also advertising their work, especially if they have a following, that's like, it's free real estate. Like,
yeah.
It's free advertisement. It's like your duty to work together as a team to promote your product. Like, it's common sense 101.
She mentions the popularity of Skyrim Romance when it was still on the Nexus, and I think it's worth mentioning that when Skyrim Romance was on Nexus, it caused more drama because the Nexus regularly monthly holds a mod of the month, so the most popular mod will receive, like, a cool little badge that they can put on their mod, and, it'll get, like, boosted and celebrated and whatnot. And she put that emblem on the Skyrim Romance page before it had actually been officially announced, because of how high her numbers were, and people were like, hey, that's kind of shitty and shady.
That's really
because
dickish.
upsets have happened before, and, like, you're being really presumptuous and arrogant. Yeah. And, like, that emblem is actually still on the Skyrim Romance website. Like, she's brought it over there too, and it's like, I get it, you want to be proud of your accomplishment, but the way in which you, like, kind of took on that accomplishment before you were properly given it and are now, like, touting it despite the fact that you were banned from that forum is, like, I don't think it looks that great,
Let's claim that we're Forbes 30 under 30 media luminaries. And
okay, but I do want to be.
I do too. I want to be one so badly. I want to be one. So I'm saying, let's just pretend that we are one. And
who's gonna fucking check?
Exactly. And then we will be one.
What we'll do is we'll say we're 30 under 30 media luminaries.
Ooh,
we'll just casually misspell it.
Yeah, and then we could use, what's that Pokemon that you really like? Bernie. Burmy. We could be Forbes Thermy under Burmy.
Quick note. I found a Twitter this week that is absolutely incredible, and I recommend everyone go follow. It's called Peeled Pokemon. And they're going through and they're peeling all the Pokemon. It makes me so happy. You may be asking, what does a peeled Pokemon look like? They edit it so they don't have all their, like, extra limbs or, like, yeah. I love it so much.
I wake up to just messages from Cass, just pictures of peeled Pokemon all the time.
Peeled Quagsire is my baby.
Oh, they're so weird.
So, shortly after this debacle, the irony is that the Nexus began implementing a paid mod system.
Oh, delicious.
From a Kit Guru article by Damian Mason, they explained the Nexus paid mod system as Nexus mods will compile a donation pool of money each month, expected to be 5,000 to 10,000 USD at the company's discretion, in which users will be able to donate on top of if they wish so. The money is then split at the end of each month, allocating donation points based on the amount of unique downloads of each mod, which, like, I think is actually a really great system and a really cool way to kind of get around litigation or any sort of potential legal trouble where the mod community is saying, like, hey, you can donate to this community to help keep it running, and in turn we'll give money to mods that are doing really well, which really kind of, I think, encourages people to be more engaged with the community, to really speak up about the mods they like, all sorts of stuff. I think it's a really great injection into the community and a really great way to handle it. Mara, of course, had some feelings about that. Teese, how's your reading voice? Or would you like me to take this one?
I can do it. I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah,
right.
This one's shorter, so.
So, I also want everybody to know that there's a picture of a phoenix at the beginning. I'm gonna paint you this word picture. Kind of looks like a Moltres from Pokemon, but it's just a phoenix. A fire chicken, if you will. And
Rising from the ashes.
Rising from the ashes. I think that's a volcano in the background, or maybe a really, really big tree trunk. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, it says Lord of the Dragons. And I'm guessing that the artist's name is immediately cut off right underneath the title of that, because the Lord of the Dragons is kind of clipped a little bit at the bottom of the page.
This is Skyrim Romance. We don't credit our artists here.
No, never. So, Mara's post begins with,
I have been asked a lot what I think about the whole paid mods ordeal. I decided to give my views on the subject. When I was told by one of my writers that paid mods was now being implemented, my first thoughts were of frustration and annoyance. A few months ago, when I had attempted to raise money in donations for my new mod, I had the desire to pay my team for their efforts. Only having my Kickstarter up for a few days, I was bombarded by the community for even trying to raise money in donations, so I took the Kickstarter down. But charging for mods goes against what modding is all about, in my opinion. But on the contrary to that, I wholeheartedly agree that if someone wants to be paid for their efforts doing something they love, they should pursue their dreams. That is what we try to accomplish in our lifetime, is the pursue our goals of making money doing what we love to do. Whether modding should be a creative expression or a job preference is up to the individual. Regarding the choice that Valve and Bethesda decided to have paying mods makes me curious. It is just coincidence that after the drama of Skyrim Romance Mod that this new sudden decision to help modders suddenly sparked their interest. Perhaps it was the events of Skyrim Romance Mod that led them to think modders should be paid for their work. How they wanted to split the funds, I believe, was not fair in my opinion. But still, the timing makes me think that Skyrim Romance Mod shook the foundation of the modding world more than we all assumed.
Get over yourself, Jesus Christ.
But whatever the reason behind it was, nothing good came out of this event. If anything, an ugly light revealed just how angry and hateful the Skyrim modding community really is. The company that made Skyrim was given only resentment and threats after they made their announcement. Even modders were given death threats and hate for even siding with Bethesda. This kind of behavior saddens me so much and makes me so disappointed. Those who stayed out of hate and the rage, I commend for their honorable behavior. Those who gave death threats don't realize that they'll never be able to play a single video game once their filthy asses are rotting behind bars for life. They're no better than terrorists and deserve to be caged for the ravenous dogs they are. For the modders that were bombarded by hate and death threats, I encourage you to be strong. I experienced this full measure and I understand your pain. I encourage you to rise above the hate like a phoenix from the ashes. Because people are trying to tear you down, you must stay strong and hold on to your courage. Keep doing what you love to do. Stay close to those who stay loyal to you and support you, and this will pass. The world is full of so much hate. We play video games to create our own fantasies away from the real world. We are here to have fun. Let's be good to one another and realize we are all human. We all have feelings and we are all just trying to live a good life. I don't think anyone wants to pay for mods. I believe that mod theft would become a real issue if paid mods had stayed. A person could easily re-upload someone else's mod on another site for others to download. The whole thing could have been very painful for a lot of modders, and the lawsuit would come. I guarantee it. Now that the issue of paid mods is officially over, let's just move on. Hopefully this event has not made Bethesda think twice about trying accommodate modders. Just seeing the backlash they received, I can see them reconsidering not making another creation kit for future games. This worries me, and I hope that it does not come to that. If you love mods, support their creators. Mod authors are given lots of scrutiny for their work and don't get enough praise and love. I, for one, am blessed by those who have filled my inbox with so much love and support. I can't thank you guys enough for that. You all have encouraged me every day. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Mara. I would like to hear what you guys think about it and your opinions. Feel free to comment below. Image reference. Photo of Phoenix.
And this was posted May 15th of 2015.
Oh my god, she is a fucking clown. Jesus Christ.
It's... I get and understand the frustration of, like, if you have to... And I think that was the system at the time, right? Was that, like, people could say, oh, you can buy my mod for $5. No, good for them.
Yeah.
Pay for things. Pay artists for their work. And I'm sure Bethesda would have taken a cut of that, which I'm not as into. But pay artists for their work. Even if it is fan work, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I just... the irony of her flipping around so aggressively because the narrative didn't play into her hands and didn't suit her really frustrates me. And I'm sure if she had still been on the Nexus at the time, she would have loved it.
Imagine being that conceited, though, that thinking that your stupid plagiarized romance mod is the reason why this whole thing kicked off in the first place.
Yeah, which it's not. This is, like I said before, this has been a persistent thing that has happened with modding communities of people trying to raise money to compensate artists for work so that they're able to devote more time to it, you know? Like, the simple fact of the matter is, like, as much as I love art, as much as I love anything that I do, I can only dedicate enough time to it as is worth it to me, if that makes sense. And if I'm being financially compensated for that, that thing is worth more to me then. Because unfortunately, we live in a society where I need money to live and exist, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree, and I feel you.
So,
yeah.
Jumping forward.
5 years?
Jumping forward to 6 months ago. So yeah, 5 years. A Reddit user by the name Rona Lightfoot, which I have to imagine is a little related to current world circumstance.
Oh, definitely.
Shared their experience working on the Skyrim Romance Mod. Everything that we're sharing here is still available and up on the internet. I do want to say, like, if you ever are curious about any of our sources or any of the things we've looked at, feel free to DM us. We can give you that information, hand it over to you, whatever. So 6 months ago, Reddit user Rona Lightfoot comes forward to share their experience working on the Skyrim Romance Mod art team. They joined the team as a concept artist after they joined the mod's Discord server. We haven't talked up till this point about the content, really, of the Skyrim Romance Mod. Tonally, the best way to explain it is really, it's like a Harlequin bodice ripper romance. Unfortunately, that comes with a lot of aggressive sexual overtones not undertones, but overtones. It has been described by multiple people, and I don't really like this descriptor, but it's been described as rapey, in that a lot of the characters will make, like, unwanted advances, really aggressive sexual advances. There's a lot of, like, slinging the word whore around, and, like, the female romantic rivals are, like, really catty and misogynistic. There are some people who really love that tone of romance and like that sort of romance writing. I'm not personally a fan of it.
Me neither.
But there's a huge audience for it who really enjoys it. And you know what? Like, chase your bliss. Just so you're aware, that's kind of the tone, and so this does draw, like, a pretty large female audience, and, like, the people who enjoy this mod aren't unaware of this, you know? They are fully aware that it might be, like, classified as, like, quote-unquote cringy or what have you, but, like, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. Like, who cares? Let people live. Rona joins the team as a concept artist after she joins the mod's Discord server, and the Discord server was started by an individual referred to as Storm, who later gave over admin access to Rona's friend GQ, who has also commented on this Reddit thread. And they were given the explicit instructions that it was not to be given over to Mara unless she could prove her capability as a community leader. Mm-hmm. So, despite Mara stating that she had changed and removed the plagiarized and heavily referenced, paraphrased, altered, whatever you want to call it, content from Neverwinter Nights 2 and the mod for it, Rona says, quote, "I also know that it is heavily plagiarized from Neverwinter Nights 2. The new writers attempted to tone this down and even change it, but unfortunately, Mara insisted a lot of it stay," end quote. Which, great. Fantastic. You're going to tell everyone in your apology that you got rid of all of it, but you haven't actually. It is worth noting that Rona came back with an update on this thread stating that they had talked with Mara, and Mara basically agreed to disagree and said, you know what, you can say whatever you want, I'm not going to bother with this, you know? Rona, due to their engagement and activity within the Discord server, was asked to take a more senior lead role as an artist to kind of help manage the art team's Discord channel and sort of help motivate the artists. They described the team as incredibly disorganized with little direct communication. Quote, "I began talking to Mara a lot more as well, trying to get more information from her, and we could share with the artists because at this point in time, the writer team and the art team were 100% separated and the story was mostly kept hidden. I later learned this was essentially because the art team was a revolving door of people and they didn't want the whole story getting out to the public. But the art team was also a revolving door because they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a real outline of what to do and where to go with any of it, so people lost interest and left due to a huge lack of direction and communication. Trying to get information from Mara, let alone Chris, was like trying to squeeze water from a stone. It was frustrating and exhausting with back and forth on questions for days on end. There was no real direction from them either, and definitely no constructive critique. Chris was overly critical and everything. He admitted to me he wanted the whole thing to be much simpler like Skyrim Romance was, and that he even hated the name Forbidden Love. And Mara just lavished everything with, I love it, it's perfect, that's so great. She rarely ever said she didn't like something," end quote. Chris, for reference, is like the sort of co-admin. He's one of the writers on the team, but he's also one of the voice actors. And he took on a more senior leadership position, but had to step back because he was later diagnosed with cancer, and that was, you know, a lot for him to deal with on top of having to deal with all of this bullshit. But, you know, Mara is described by Rona as rarely being present and rarely handling any of the issues within the server, and things sort of fell apart when there was dissent amongst the moderators concerning presence of minors in the space and the not safe for work content in the mod. So, Skyrim Romance Mod requires the use of Sex Lab Framework to operate, which is a resource to aid in animations and other actions within modding. Sex Lab Framework has to be downloaded from Lovers Lab, which requires you be 18 plus to even enter that forum. Sex Lab Framework is kind of what it sounds like. It's to allow sex and physical interactions in the game and help with animations for that, because Skyrim doesn't have those natively built into it. So animators have to create that on their own, and Sex Lab Framework kind of helps with that. There are penises in Skyrim Romance. Watching some of the videos, it's like kind of annoying how often the characters will get naked and just not put their clothing back on. So you're walking around with a companion with his dick out, and it's like, can you... Bishop, can you not? Bishop, I'm not really in the mood right now.
Bishop, please. Can I mention something that I just absolutely just made me go bonkers about this mod?
Yeah.
When you have your child, the child draws pictures of the two of you together, and no matter what your character looks like, the art of your family will always have you as a white, blonde female human.
Oh, no.
And I'm like,
oh God.
Like, if you're playing the Khajit, no cat boy is going to show up. Like, it is 100%.
Is it worth mentioning that the picture Mara chose to claim was her was a white blonde woman?
Sure, interesting.
Listen, we all love a little self-insertion.
Yeah, I guess.
Love
Queen.
Skyrim, as just a game, no mods, is rated M and PEGI 18, meaning it cannot be purchased by a minor without the express consent of an adult. On all levels, Skyrim Romance, by basic gates, whether that be entering forums, saying, yes, I'm 18 or older, is not meant for or technically accessible to minors. So, your Discord server should also not be accessible to minors. Like, that's basic, that is basic 101, Like, if your game is M-rated, there shouldn't be minors in the space, It's just...
You could be, let's be real, we've all watched R-rated movies as children, we've all played M-rated games when we were kids, but, like, for you to exist in fan spaces for a quote-unquote adult game, it's like pressing, yes, I am 18 plus, but you're really just, like, 12, Mm-hmm. Like, you gotta, just because you as a kid think it's okay to get away with doesn't mean that adults should say it's okay to get away with.
Yeah.
And I know, nobody wants to be a fun sucker, the fun police, but, like, you should...
This is for mutual safety. I mean, we talked about this in our last episode with Leo, but, like, that is a mutual safety thing. It's for your safety as an underage individual, and it's also for the safety of the adults, because, like, if you're talking about, like, highly sexual things and you're exchanging sexual images, even if those are just of characters in a video game, like, you're exchanging pornography back and forth. Like,
Quite literally.
We have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Rona describes 8 out of the 10 mods agreeing that minors shouldn't be allowed in the space and that the Discord needed to better handle the presence of not safe for work content. But Mara and her co-admin were allegedly against any sort of moderation of the not safe for work content in the Discord and tried to spin the discussion as all of the mods arguing amongst themselves. And it's like, okay, well, 8 out of 10 of them agree, Mara, so they're not arguing amongst themselves, they're arguing against you. Rona goes on to allege that Mara regularly failed to credit artists for their work and had to be frequently reminded to credit them. They describe an instance in which Mara unveiled an elk mount that a friend of Rona's had spent 2 years modeling and texturing, which that's a lot of work. And Mara failed to credit them or the artist who modeled and textured the saddle in the post. And, like, just sort of, like, conveniently forgot. And, like, it's one thing when you are working at let's say a AAA studio and they're posting promotional or key art, and most of the time actually they now do a really fantastic job of, like, redirecting people on Twitter. Like, if Sony Santa Monica is like, hey, look at this amazing model of Kratos, they're like, Raf Grassetti did this, go look at his Twitter. Especially on an indie production, I feel like you really owe it to your creators to highlight them and share them so that other people can find their work and support them instead of taking it all for yourself. But it seems like there was a really persistent issue with Mara seeing this only as her mod and, like, her creation, and despite, like, the dozens of people that have worked on it, that have made it possible, like, she could not have done this all on her own. Rona and the other members of the art team confronted Mara about the issue, and Rona informed everyone, like, hey, Mara made you sign an NDA, but that's not legally binding, and everything that you made, you still own. Not, like, it's not owned by Mara, it's not owned by the Skyrim Romance, you retain the rights to it. And so one of the artists said, fuck this, I'm out, and took their concept art and backed out. And Rona states that Mara began harassing the other artists, demanding the artwork back. And it was like a concept for a dress or something. But just, like, bombarded the artist being like, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? I need it back. And it's like, you don't own the rights to that.
No. You
don't get it. Like, this person's out of your project. And that's because of your actions and your lack of professionalism. The art team hemorrhaged and went from having 40 artists, creation kit designers, and texture artists down to having 8. The release of the Skyrim Romance website, which is like the current day website that you can find, took so much of Mara's time and like took her away from like actually running or spearheading any of the work that was done on the actual mod. And so when like this website released, it's broken, it's buggy. They can still find the template from like the hotel website she used, and they're just like, fuck this. Rona's like, I'm out. I'm done with this. This is bullshit. Like, this is what you've been wasting your time on. Absolutely not. Mara comes in to GQ, who, remember, is now the overall admin of the Discord server, and says, I want admin privileges. Give me the keys. And at Storm's instruction, GQ refused. Mara threatened to remove all of GQ's work from the entire mod, including writing, voice work, and art. And GQ was like, cool, that's going to make a hell of a lot more work for Chris, who recently was diagnosed with cancer. But sure, go for it. GQ talks with Storm and other remaining mods, and they all agree they're going to delete the Discord server. They give Mara 3 hours to gather whatever she needed and get the fuck out. And then they just deleted it. They nuked it. Which is then when Rona came onto Reddit to make this post detailing all of this. There are tons and tons of descriptions. There are comments from other people corroborating all of this. Mara being, like, incredibly possessive of this mod and, like, claiming it all as her own work despite the huge communal undertaking. And if you even look at the Skyrim Romance website and go and look at individual credits on each of the mods, additional artists and mod creators are listed at like the very bottom of the team page in like very small text. Like Mara gets a huge headline with like a big emblem, and like all the voice actors get like a huge picture with like their name, and all of like the team leads, but like anyone else who like has done any work on this is like credited very small, which just like, that's so scummy. Mm-hmm. It's so scummy.
It's not good.
So that's the Skyrim Romance mod. I don't really have, like, any final notes to tie this into, like, a really big bow, except, like, I would avoid the community of this mod at all costs and would not recommend working on it, given what we know of, like, the team and how Mara seems to fail to communicate consistently with people. Mm-hmm. I have not reached out to Mara for comment. I kind of just wanted to talk about what has happened insofar. If anyone who is a part of the team or who has ever been a part of the team would like to share their experience, whether that be anonymously or you want to come talk to us, let us know. But oh my gosh, if you are an artist, you deserve to be credited for your work. And you also shouldn't have your work stolen from you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have your work stolen from you. The fact that she was like, this is mine, and yet, how much of this work did she do? Like...
Well, the fact that she's like, it's mine.
Just because you're the producer doesn't mean it's yours.
But the very inherent premise isn't even hers.
No, it's not. Know? She just was like, ooh, I like this. I'm going to take this. And then she just does it.
Yeah. It's gross. Shame on you.
She stinks. I know I'm not supposed to call people stinky little evil men anymore, but she's a stinky evil little woman. I don't trust her.
Little stinky for sure.
She's a stinky little gamer.
She's not a cult leader, you know, but she is exploiting people. And
you can still be a bad person. Yeah. And still have bad, like, you can still have, like, uninformed intentions, or you could still have, like, you could still fuck up, but still be a bad person. There's a difference between fucking up and then owning up to your mistakes and then fixing it. But in Mara's case, she continuously claims that she's going to change and then just never does. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. Like, just why? Why would you want to work with her after all this bullshit?
What's really interesting to me is, like, so things have changed pretty considerably in terms of avenues for artists to get paid for their work on the internet since 2015.
Yes.
Skyrim Romance is now its own website. So it's not beholden to the terms of conditions of the Nexus forums. It is its own modding community, and it has one of the tabs on their website is an academy where, you know, they want to teach and help people learn to mod, and like, so it's active recruitment, you know, for Skyrim Romance. Yeah. But then on top of it, it's like there's not a Patreon link on the website. There's not a coffee link on the website. And I almost feel, this is totally conjecture on my part, but I almost feel like the sudden turnabout of, I don't think people should be paid for their mods, is a premeditated covering of the ass so that down the line she doesn't have to. So that these people can't turn around and say, I would actually like to be paid for this. Because, like, there's an exceptional amount of work that goes into this. An exceptional amount of work. You know, it's... You're not just, like, making a game. It is, in its own way, a totally separate difficulty to have to work with an already existing game and create all of your assets in a way that runs within that game without slowing it down, without bugging it, without destroying it, without corrupting it. I mean, it's a very complex framework, and it's a very complex job that you're asking people to do. And I understand that, like, on some level, she's still beholden to the conditions of, you know, the creation kit. But I don't think the creation kit and user license agreement would keep you from running a Patreon. Skyrim Romance, your artists deserve to be paid. That's my fun little addendum. If you have any questions about our episode, if you have comments about our episode, if you have concerns, if you have ideas for episode topics, if you just want to talk to us and say hi, you can reach out to us on Twitter at AuthorsNotePod, or you can hit us up via email. That's at authorsnotepod@gmail.com. We also have a coffee, because we are doing this for free. But if you really enjoyed the episode, you know, maybe swing on over to coffee. Buy us a little treat. Just say, hey, thanks for telling me about this.
5 whole coffees pays for our monthly distribution. So
exactly,
5 of those bad boys is the reason why we are able to be hosted on all of these apps and sites that you guys use to listen to the podcast.
Exactly. We disseminate that way with the shmoneys.
With the shmoneys, like, trust
you get
me, it's
extra
not going into our pocket.
Hey! If you send us a coffee, I will take a video for you of Eskel eating a treat.
Yeah, or me with Bass. Or
exactly.
both of us.
Exactly. We'll find a way. If you want to find more of my work, I'm Cass, because some people think I'm Teese. But I'm Cass, and you can find me on Twitter at Valhethella. That's VALHETHELLA. Teese, where can we find more of your work?
I'm Teese. I don't know if people think I'm Cass, but I'm Teese.
We've gotten confused a few times.
You could find me at Vicunad, VICUNAD. We also now have an Instagram where you can follow us at AuthorsNotePod. And our theme music was done by James Yaiullo, and you could find his music on Bandcamp at James Y.
And our cover art was done by the wonderful Nyaliest. You can find more of her on Twitter at Nyaliest. That's NYALLIEST. Until next time, wash your hands. Stay away from other people. If you think you might have something, go get tested. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. If it's free, if it's expensive, I understand that. But please stay safe and be considerate of other people. And take care. We love you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.